Come with me as I move through the imaginary world I created to help myself and others learn how to memorize the grand staff. Let me know what you think at the end. Here's how each note will work in this video. First, I will show you a very active slide of a note moving from its starting point to where it appears on the grand staff. Then I will play a very short, silly clip of the backstory I came up with for this character and note. Then I will review once again where the note is located. After each new note, I will review all the notes we have learned so far. Our first character is Gull. Imagine a gull flying back and forth on top of the staff. He is looking for food he can steal. And on a piano, Gull is the second G to the right of middle C. Okay, here's our first review. I know that Gull is right above the staff and he flies back and forth in the space above the top line of the treble clef. Our next character is Bull Shark. Did you know a bull shark can live in both fresh and in salt water? This one that lives in our imaginary world is always hungry. Bull Shark is always on the prowl and he stalks right in the very middle of the staff. Equal access to the animals on the top and on the bottom. Bull Shark is the first B note to the right of middle C. I find that when I make these characters very active, I tend to remember them better. So when the bull shark swims toward the dog growls and barks. Okay, here's our second review. We know that the gull flies back and forth above that top line of the staff, and the bull shark is right in the center of treble clef. Okay, our next character isn't really a character, it's a feather that used to belong to Gull. So Gull had this magic feather that he could use to make people drop their food. But he used it so often that one day it just fell out. So you can imagine when his feather fell out, it of course fell on the line right below him on the staff. Feather is the second F to the right of middle C. At this point, you might try to imagine where each note goes on the staff before it actually begins moving. I know Gull is on the very top here, flying back and forth looking for food. Bull Shark is on the middle line, he's easy to remember. And Feather is hanging right there on that top line below Gull. People of the internet, give it up for Eel. My buddy Eel is always working out. He never sits still. You see his original position there on the left. Then he makes himself into an E, and then he makes himself flat. And he does it all over again. In the spirit of the suspension of disbelief, I'm going to tell you that Eel works out so much that he starts to sweat. Yes, I know it cannot happen underwater, but just use your imagination. So I've put Eel there on his bottom line of treble clef, and he moves all around, and he starts to sweat profusely underwater. I know. Okay, Gull is still up top, grieving the loss of his magic feather. Bull Shark is still here on the middle line, looking forward to more appetized animals showing up. And Feather is so excited to be free. Maybe someone gifted him a sock? And Eel is wearing himself plumb out on the bottom line. The next character I'm going to introduce to you is Eagle. Eagle tends to be a little grumpy, and he doesn't really put up with any nonsense. He will exit himself from a situation if he's annoyed. In my imaginary fictional world, Eagle used to hang out with the Gull, but I guess he got really annoying because Eagle just walked away and took his spot below the top line of staff. Here you can see we have the Gull and the feather that fell out of his tail, and then the Eagle moving down and away from the Gull as fast as possible. Eagle is the second E to the right of middle C. Gull is now on line arrest here at the top and has recently joined a support group to help him stop stealing food. Bull Shark's having trouble sleeping and keeps calling out the name Pipit. Authorities have yet to determine the cause of this phenomenon. Feather has donned an invisibility cloak and is banking on Gull's inability to procure a Marauder's map. Eel is raising money to start a dance club on his line, and Eagle immediately requested that he be relocated closer to Eel. The request was denied. Our next character is Dog. Dogs are smart. This one is no exception. He tries to stay as close as possible to both birds because he never knows when he might get fed. Although Dog has his silly moments, he does his best to protect his new friends from the predators below. Dog is the second D to the right of middle C on the piano. Gull, G, who has allegedly been detained for grand larceny, is up here above the top line. And the B note, the real culprit of the 1916 Keyport, New Jersey shark attack of an 11-year-old boy, Lester Stillwell, looks rather guilty here in the center line of the staff. And the highly addictive magic feather, F, fell in the line below the guilty bird. And finally, the Richard Simmons of the ocean world, Eel, is still sweating to the oldies here on the bottom line. Eagle has asked repeatedly that he not be included in the review sessions since HR denied his request to be moved away from Gull. And Dog just wants us to tell you that he is the goodest boy ever, and he's so happy to be included in the project, and could you please get some cheese for him? Our next animal, well, isn't an animal at all. I mean, I have to keep you on your toes, right? Okay, in all honesty, I could not bring myself to put another bird up there. Albatross was jumping around in my head and begging to be in the show, but I had to let him down gently. And it's okay, he ended up in a Taylor Swift song, so he is happy. So Airplane is above the staff. All he has is an imaginary line, so he just makes himself his own ledger line out of contrail. Here we go, let's review. I know Gull, G, is up here above the top line looking for food to steal. Bull Shark, B, I remember, is on the very middle line of the treble clef. Feather, F, of course, fell out of Gull's tail and landed on the line below. Eel, E, is busy sweating down here on the bottom line. Eagle, another E, is ghosting his buddy Gull, and he sits in this top space of treble. Dog, D, is on the line below the two birds waiting for a handout. I imagine he's listening for the rustle of a nice cheese paper. Next up is Airplane, A, who makes his own ledger line up here. Our next character is called Fanworm, even though he looks more like a feather duster. This is what one looks like in the real world. If something draws near, it just pulls the fan back in, and after a bit it slowly comes back out again. Fanworm is a people pleaser, loves his buddy Eel. He does his very best to keep his buddy Eel nice and cool while he sweats. In review, news media outlets are reporting that Gull G has been refused bail because he's viewed by the court as a potential flight risk. Bull Shark B is now suing Ruby's Rescues for defamation of character, claiming we have crossed the middle line. Feather has apparently been reclassified as a Schedule 1 drug and can only be found on the black market line of the staff. And Eel has just released his first workout video on TikTok and is well on his way to being a social media influencer. Finally, in a surprising turn of events, Eagle has now been confirmed as a member of Trump's cabinet and will be named administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. Good times. Just in, we may have good reason to suspect growing tension between the dog and the bull shark. The grand staff conflict risk has been changed from yellow to orange, and we are monitoring the situation. Airplane had a minor malfunction of its landing gear this afternoon and has been temporarily grounded. And finally, scientists have discovered a rare ocean creature that looks just like a feather duster. Inquiring minds want to know more.